Food bloggers, hi, how are you today? Thank you so much for tuning in to the Eat Blog Talk podcast. This is the place for food bloggers to get information and inspiration to accelerate your blog's growth and ultimately help you to achieve your freedom, whether that's financial, personal, or professional. I'm Megan Porta. I have been a food blogger for 13 years, so I understand how isolating food blogging can be. I'm on a mission to motivate, inspire, and most importantly, let each and every food blogger, including you, know that you are heard and supported. I hear so many food bloggers talk about this pain point of writing their content, whether that's for their food blog or social media or emails or whatever it might be. Writing can take a long time. So outsourcing writing is something that is really relevant right now and top of mind for a lot of food bloggers. Shyanne Gregg joins me in this interview to talk about hiring a reliable food blog writer who has SEO experience and who can take some work off your plate and free you up for all of those other wonderful projects you want to work on. Shyanne talks about some nitty-gritty details such as credentials to look for in your writer, how to determine if that person is a good fit for you, where to find this person, the difference in roles between an editorial manager and a writer, and why VAs are not writers. If hiring a writer is on your agenda, this will be a really good starting point for you so you can outsource some of that work. This is episode number 543, and it is sponsored by RankIQ. Hello there, food blogger friends. I want to take a really quick break from this episode to chat about a few ways Eat Blog Talk can help you to feel connected, as well as to get your hands on relevant, valuable information in 2024. It has been a bit of a tumultuous year so far, do you agree? But you have come too far to stop now. This time is a minor blip in the journey, so buckle up and let's do this journey together and come out on the other side stronger than ever. Eat Blog Talk now has a Facebook group. Go join the Eat Blog Talk community Facebook group to get in on some great discussions. Once you're inside, you will gain access to a free job postings shared document, whether you're offering a service or looking for a service. There's also the new-ish accountability group that Eat Blog Talk offers. This group is a low investment membership for anyone looking to connect with peers and grow your business. This is for newer bloggers, intermediate bloggers, and experienced bloggers. We offer robust calls and Slack discussions and so much more in this group for the low cost of $34 a month. The Eat Blog Talk Mini Minds and Mastermind groups are still being offered in 2024 and beyond. Mini Minds groups start up again in October, and we will start filling the 2025 Mastermind group in late summer of 24. Join the waitlist for one of these groups, and you will not be disappointed. And last but not least, join us at an in-person retreat. If you are ready to learn, grow, and build relationships in person, join me and a handful of your fellow food bloggers at an upcoming Eat Blog Talk retreat. This is such a great opportunity to convene in an intimate setting so you can learn, collaborate, and connect. These retreats involve mastermind-style peer-to-peer collaborating, and they're incredibly powerful, delicious, so much good food, and fun. For all the offerings mentioned, head to eatblogtalk.com and you will be directed in the appropriate way. We are more than just a podcast. Go explore some of these other offerings as your time and budget allows. Can't wait to see you in some of those other places. Now back to the episode. Shyanne is a food blog content writer who helps bloggers manage editorial teams and rank in Google. She has 7 years of writing experience and a degree in English. Shyanne started her freelancing journey while in college and accidentally, on purpose, launched a 6-figure career. Shyanne, welcome to Eat Blog Talk. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for joining us. We're excited to hear about hiring a content writer from your perspective as someone who's not a food blogger and you are a writer yourself. Before we get into all of that, though, do you have a fun fact to share about yourself?
I am originally from Indiana, and 2 summers ago, I packed up everything and moved across the country to Utah with my husband and 2 dogs.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's a bold move.
It was long.
Yeah. What made you choose Utah?
We knew we wanted out of the Midwest, and there are quite a few food bloggers out here, so we kind of just decided to go for it, and so far we've loved it.
Oh, good. Are you guys skiers, snowboarders?
Not yet. My husband grew up in Michigan, so he is. I haven't figured it out quite yet.
You'll fall in love once you do it. You can't go back. Awesome to learn that about you. So I know that you have a business for copywriting services, correct? Called Shyanne Reynolds.
Yes, Shyanne Reynolds Copywriting.
Okay. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I help food bloggers. I actually started out as a VA and then transitioned into writing. So I help food bloggers with their blogs. Obviously, I write up the posts and I also assist with emails. And I have a small team that will handle any social media as well. But really, my focus is on SEO and the food blog writing itself.
Okay. How long have you been doing that?
7 years.
Oh, wow. Okay. And how has it evolved over time? Is it a different business now than when you started? How does it look now?
Absolutely. I actually started in college as an intern and was doing VA work for nutritionists and food bloggers. And as I got more and more into it, I transitioned from social media more into the writing. I actually have an English degree. So as I learned more about SEO, I kind of just fell in love with that aspect. And recently with all the Google updates, it's changed a lot faster than normal.
Yeah.
It's been great.
Definitely. So things are changing at a very rapid pace right now, right?
Yes.
Well, I found for myself and for people who I talk to in our space that hiring food blog writers is kind of top of the list currently because it's just one of those things where it takes so much time. And if we could outsource it, it gives us so much more opportunity to focus on new projects and new streams of revenue, et cetera. So this is a very relevant topic currently. So we really appreciate you bringing this to the table. So just to go along with that, like, I guess, where do we start? Like, if we feel like we need a food blog writer, where do we start with it?
Yeah, so there's several approaches you can take. I get a lot of referrals from current clients. So, if you're in the space and you have friends who you love their blog, they're doing well with SEO, it never hurts to reach out to them and ask if they have writers they work with that might be open to additional work. But beyond that, I get a lot of other clients from Facebook groups. I think that's your next best bet. There's quite a few dedicated for food bloggers specifically. And then, you can go old fashioned Google or even look for food blog writers on Instagram or TikTok.
Okay. Yeah, I find that word of mouth is really powerful in our community because if we find someone who really works, we want to tell everyone else about it, right? So that is a really good place to start, just asking trusted peers. And then if we do find a food blog writer who we want to look into more, how do we know that they're qualified, I guess?
I think there are several factors to look into, and I think it depends on your blog and your focus. So if you have a really science-backed blog or you focus on a specific allergy niche or something like that, I think looking for people with experience and related credentials really helps. I also would recommend looking for someone who is a full-time writer. They either have an English or journalism degree or they have studied SEO, and people who have portfolios and work that you can see to make sure that they can actually write to your standards.
Do you recommend asking people for references?
Yes and no. I don't know that it's that helpful, honestly. Personally, if I was hiring, I would rather someone be willing to learn and grow and have enthusiasm rather than having a long spreadsheet of people they've worked for. So as long as they have quality work, that's kind of where I would focus.
Okay. So definitely getting those credentials. Are they actually writers? Do they know SEO well? How do we know beyond that if they're a good fit for us and our business?
I, with my clients, always like to do a test post. So I do a paid test post before we sign any contracts or do any kind of packages. And that way you can kind of gauge whether or not it will work for you on both ends, because, sometimes you just don't gel for whatever reason. So I think that's kind of a easy way to mitigate risks.
Okay. I like that. I've heard people talk about like doing a test, like month or 3 months or something like that. But what's wrong with doing one test post and just seeing how that goes?
Yeah, because even if it's not a good fit, a couple months could kind of make or break it,
Yeah. Right. Exactly. That's kind of a long time if it's not going well. So I have a question about multiple writers. So if you hire a writer, let's say to write new blog posts, and then you have a writer who maybe writes for your social media and or emails, how do we navigate that? Is it hard to manage different writers, or should we seek out a writer who can do everything?
I don't think it's hard to manage. I think having clear brand voice and tone really, really helps writers and yourself kind of stay in line. But most of the time you can find a single writer who can kind of do all of that, or you could pivot to have an editorial manager, which I do some of, to kind of check for quality control and just ensure that everything fits. And then it kind of spreads out a lot of the task load, so no one writer is getting overwhelmed.
So the editorial manager, is that somebody who writes as well, or are they just overseeing writers?
It can be either or. It kind of depends on your structure. I do a little bit of both, but in a lot of cases, it's someone who is most of the time just laying out SEO guidelines and templates, and then they kind of assign out projects to writers and then proofread and check everything for like a second or third set of eyes.
What qualifications would an editorial manager have, and where do you even look for that? I have no idea. I mean, is it the same recommendation, going to Facebook groups or word of mouth?
Yeah, I think so. That's your best bet. And as far as qualifications, I think personally the best editorial managers have writing experience. They've kind of been in the trenches and know how to edit and adjust things, and are ready for the next step in their career. Because without that experience, you kind of struggle to be able to tell the writers what to focus on or how to change things.
Eat Blog Talk is thrilled to unveil the Eat Blog Talk Accountability Group, an exclusive community made for food bloggers who crave accountability, focus, and connection. We understand that not everyone is ready to dive into the Mini Minds group or the Masterminds program. That is why we've crafted this special offering for bloggers like you who want that extra push toward their aspirations but aren't yet able to make the financial or time commitment. Here's what the Eat Blog Talk Accountability Group has in store for you for this low introductory price of $34 a month. This ongoing membership has its own private Slack channel. You will gain access to a dedicated channel facilitated by the community manager at Eat Blog Talk, Taryn Soley, for questions, insights, and collaboration. You will get weekly accountability check-ins so you can stay focused and motivated with those weekly check-ins in Slack to track and achieve your goals confidently. You will have access to productivity focus sessions. Join these optional live Zoom sessions twice a week to boost your productivity by working alongside your peers and tapping into that collective energy. And you will get monthly group Zoom calls replacing the former Clubhouse chats. Join these calls to connect, discuss current topics, share experiences, and celebrate achievements. Those calls will be hosted by me, Megan Porta, and I can't wait to see some of you there. If this sounds intriguing, head over to eatblogtalk.com/focus to sign up today. eatblogtalk.com/focus. From your experience, have you seen more food bloggers have an array of writers, or have you seen more like just having one or two very focused writers?
At the start, I see most people have one or two very focused writers who kind of grow with the team. And then as they get big and expand into different teams and sections, they develop an editorial manager and more writers.
Can you give us some examples of different things that we might need writing for? So like obvious things, new content, new posts, maybe updating posts, social media, what beyond that?
Yeah. So in addition to that, there's newsletters, there's, if you start selling products, there's product descriptions, cookbooks, any promotional material you do, scripts for reels and YouTube videos, YouTube video descriptions, all kinds of things.
Ooh, what about sales pages? I don't like writing sales pages.
Sales pages, landing pages, all of that. I'm actually in courses for that right now.
What is your favorite thing to write about?
I love food blogs themselves. I really like exploring different cuisines and ways of cooking. As someone from the Midwest, it was all kind of new to me when I started, so it's always fun to learn.
Yeah, and then the SEO is a big component of that, obviously, right? So do you feel like you're keeping up to speed with SEO, or is that challenging for you as a copywriter?
I do my best to keep up to speed. Right now, I'm kind of just waiting and writing it out to see what Google does, but I check all of the forums daily. And I think as a whole, the biggest tip is to just focus on your audience and serving them, and then the rest kind of follows. So I don't think it's as intricate and complicated as a lot of people make it seem to be.
Yeah. And then with AI being so prevalent right now, how important is it for food bloggers to just check on that? Like, I wouldn't want to hire a writer personally who was producing all of my content through AI. I don't think it's bad to use AI as a tool, as a guide. Do you know what I mean? So what are what are your thoughts on all of that?
Yeah, I'm very anti-AI for the blog posts themselves. However, in terms of, about me pages and social media and stuff, I think it can be very helpful to streamline the process and crank out a lot more content a lot faster. But I do think it's really, really important to have human eyes on it and checking and tweaking things, because you can kind of tell when things are written solely with AI.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Do you feel like people who do write blog posts with AI included are going to get dinged? Do you think that is a negative?
I do. I think that's coming for sure.
Yeah. Do you see evidence of that, or is that just a feeling?
I've seen some evidence. I think right now everything is shifting so fast that it's hard to tell for sure. But I think, again, if you're focusing on keeping your readers in mind, they are smart and they can tell when it's written by AI. And you run into the problem that AI can't generate new ideas or new concepts. It just regurgitates what's already out there. So everything will start to look the same, essentially, which will be a problem.
That's interesting. I like how you put that. AI can't generate new concepts. That's something that I hadn't really thought about before, because it takes anything currently that exists, right? And it kind of like smushes it all together. But as far as like novel new things or experiences even, it can't do that.
Exactly. And it can't bring that human emotion to, your mom's favorite casserole dish that you grew up and loved eating. It just can't provide that level of emotion or depth.
Yeah. Okay. So I was wondering if you would talk a little bit about a problem I had a few years ago. This was all on me. I tried to squish my VA into the writer role and just like, oh, well, while you're helping me, let's take on writing. And it just didn't work. And I tried to make it work for so long. And it took me a long time to learn that. Mm-hmm. Will you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I see that quite often. The issue with that is most VAs are very task oriented and they're really, really good at carrying out a to-do list and keeping you organized and structured. However, there are a few, but most of the time VAs aren't trained in blog writing or writing of any kind, and they don't know SEO. So you run into them just kind of trying to scramble to put stuff together and imitate your tone where it's not in their skill set.
And they're not necessarily trained in writing. They don't have writing skills. So it can be okay. Like, that's what I found for myself. It was fine and it worked okay, but there's such a difference when you actually hire someone who's a trained writer, like a skilled writer. It's like night and day if you look at what they wrote versus what I was trying to make my VA become.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. What do you have for food bloggers? Do you have any other recommendations if somebody is looking for a writer? Anything that they should keep at the top of their minds, or recommendations, tips, anything at all?
I think it's important to work with people that you enjoy working with. So making sure your personalities gel and making sure the way you give feedback relates or corresponds to how they receive it. For instance, I can handle pretty blunt feedback, but some people get a little upset with that. So just making that very clear when you're hiring, how you communicate, how you assign posts, how you edit, and we'll go through them. And beyond that, I think looking for people that have experience in the type of food you're writing about, and people who love food beyond just the written word. It's important to love writing, but I think having that experience with cooking and different cuisines really plays a big factor into an average food writer and a really great food writer.
That is such a great point. So not just a writer, but somebody who is a little bit adept, at least in the kitchen, and who loves food and cooking and has some sort of kitchen experience.
Mm-hmm.
And then back to your point with just hiring, how do you go about hiring people? Do you have a process for, like going through applications and all of that? What is your process with that?
So I think, quick applications for this job are the best. I don't feel there's a need to have, a million questions, their entire life's background. I don't think is relevant for this role. I would primarily focus on any food blogs they've written for, or similar publications, their portfolio, and maybe a few references. Beyond that, most writers will have, a pretty simple website where you can view their packages and what they offer. And then if you find a few that you like, some of their example posts or some of their work that you've seen, moving to that test post or a further interview if you want to meet, via Zoom or something to make sure you mesh.
Yeah. So I like that you said quick. So it doesn't have to be this elaborate, drawn out application and interview. It can be just getting right to the point. Do you have the skills? What's your portfolio and what are your packages, basically?
Right, because by the time you're wanting to hire a food writer, you're probably pretty overwhelmed as it is. So there's no need to draw that out and add a million messages to your inbox just to sort through.
Yeah. All right, Shyanne, anything else that we should know when we are ready to hire a writer?
It doesn't always work out, and that's not always your fault or the writer's fault. Sometimes it's just a matter of tone and preferences, and just because one writer didn't work doesn't mean none of them will, so keep trying. I see a lot of people give up after one just thinking that no one can match their voice, and it's not true.
I hear this so much. I mean, I can't even tell you how much. This is a huge pain point and frustration for food bloggers. They're like, I've tried it once or I tried it twice even, or maybe even 3 times, and nobody can match my voice. So they just stop and then they continue on with being frustrated with doing their own writing. And it just takes a little bit of encouragement, like just keep looking, right? Like there's somebody out there to kind of reflect your voice and write about the things that you're passionate about. Well, thank you so much. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your copywriting services? I know you offer your own packages and all of that, so we would love to hear about those.
Yeah, absolutely. My primary packages are for food blog posts. I also offer email writing. And if anyone's interested in outsourcing social media, I have a team of amazing people who can handle that as well. We're really here to be kind of your one-stop shop for all kinds of outsourcing, just to make your life easier so you can get back to focusing on what you love and why you got into food blogging in the first place.
And should people go to your website to get all the information, ShyanneReynolds.com?
Yep, that's the easiest place.
Okay, and are you on Instagram as well?
I am. It's at Shyanne Reynolds Copywriting.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Shyanne. This was a very fun conversation. Do you have either a favorite quote or words of inspiration to leave us with?
I think words of inspiration would be, don't be afraid to experiment and don't forget to have fun with your food blog. I know outsourcing can be stressful, but really in the long run, it can take so much off your plate so you can get back to what you love.
Yes, love it. Simple, but very powerful. And we'll put together a show notes page for you. If you want to go look at those and everything we've talked about, head to eblogtalk.com/Shyanne Reynolds. Do you want to spell that for everyone just so they're going to the right place?
Yes, it's SHYANNE, and then Reynolds is REYNOLDS.
Awesome. Well, everyone go check out Shyanne and all of her services and everything she offers. Thank you again, Shyanne, for joining us today. And thank you for listening, food bloggers. I will see you next time. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Eat Blog Talk. Don't forget to rate and review Eat Blog Talk on your favorite podcast player. Thank you, and I will see you next time.